Few people expected Diego Pavia's situation to change this quickly after losing his spot with the Baltimore Ravens. The quarterback suddenly found himself in a situation that could be much more concerning than it appears at first glance. And I'll be honest with you, when I started looking into everything that happened over the last few days, I was surprised by how quickly things started to fall apart. What makes this even more interesting is that we're talking about a player who earned praise for his work ethic and put together an impressive college season. Even so, recent events have raised a question that seemed almost impossible not long ago. Is Diego Pavia watching his NFL dream slip away? The more details come out, the harder it becomes to ignore that possibility. What's up, Flock? My name is Tiago. I'm a Brazilian Ravens fan, and welcome back to Purple Flock TV. I'll be honest with you guys. This is one of those stories that reminds me how brutal the NFL can be. Diego Pavia spent years working to reach the highest level of football, and when it looked like he was getting closer to turning that dream into reality, he received a difficult piece of news. After being released by the Baltimore Ravens, there was still hope that another franchise would see his potential and decide to give him an opportunity. What happened next caught a lot of people off guard. When a player is placed on waivers, the other teams around the league have a chance to claim him and add him to their roster. I'll admit, I thought someone would take a chance on Pavia, especially because of the path he built in college football, but none of the other 31 NFL teams decided to bring him in. The result was tough. He returned to the free agent market, and once again, he has to wait for another door to open. What makes the situation even more interesting is that the reports coming out of Baltimore were not negative. Quite the opposite. Ravens assistant coach Jesse Minter acknowledged that the quarterback was still developing, but he highlighted Pavia's ability to learn from his mistakes. In his words, Pavia has had some experiences that are learning experiences that he can learn from and become better from. Minter also revealed that people around Vanderbilt consistently praise the quarterback's dedication and the serious way he approached his daily preparation. That's why I believe the situation goes beyond a simple release. When a player receives praise for his work ethic, discipline, and willingness to improve, it's natural to believe more opportunities could still appear. But there's another detail that makes the situation even harder to understand. When you look at what Diego Pavia accomplished during his final college season, it becomes even more difficult to understand why so many teams decided to go in another direction. This is where Diego Pavia's journey starts becoming difficult to explain. When I looked at the numbers he produced during his final season at Vanderbilt, my first reaction was surprise. We're talking about a quarterback who threw for 3,539 yards, rushed for another 862, and was directly involved in 39 touchdowns. For any football fan, those are numbers that immediately stand out. What makes it even more impressive is that Pavia wasn't only effective from the pocket, he was also able to create problems for defenses with his legs. In today's NFL, teams value quarterbacks who can make plays both through the air and on the ground, and many people believe his skill set could attract interest from multiple franchises around the league. There's another detail that makes this situation even more surprising. Diego Pavia became the first Heisman Trophy finalist in more than a decade to go undrafted. For those who don't follow college football closely, the Heisman is one of the biggest individual awards in the sport. Being named a finalist usually puts a player directly on the spotlight of NFL teams and scouts. That's why I understand why some people look at the situation and feel confused. The production was there, and the recognition was there too. Even so, the draft came and went without a single team calling his name. And when a player enters the NFL carrying this kind of uncertainty around his path, every opportunity becomes even more valuable than it already would have been. When we talk about Diego Pavia's time with the Ravens, there's one factor we can't ignore. Being released doesn't always mean a player failed. In many cases, it has more to do with the available roster space than the player's talent. And in my opinion, this may have been one of the biggest challenges Pavia faced in Baltimore. The Ravens have one of the most stable quarterback situations in the NFL. The team is led by Lamar Jackson, one of the most talented and recognized players in the league. When a quarterback of that level is at the top of the depth chart, there isn't much room for developing players to get meaningful reps, practice opportunities, and chances to prove themselves. The team also had to make decisions while building the roster. Shortly before releasing Pavia, Baltimore added veteran center Ethan Posick to the group. Moves like this happen all the time in the NFL. Sometimes a player loses a spot not because he did something wrong, but because the organization decides to address another need at that moment. I believe this context helps explain what happened a little better. Of course, getting released is never good news, but maybe the situation would have been different on a team with less competition at quarterback. And that creates an interesting possibility. If the biggest issue was simply a lack of opportunity, then maybe the next step in Pavia's career depends on finding the right environment to show what he can really do. If there's one thing I've learned from following the NFL over the years, it's that a player's situation can change very quickly. Today, an athlete can be without a team. A few weeks later, an injury or an unexpected need can create an opening on another roster. So even though the recent news has not been positive, I still believe it's too early to treat Diego Pavia's NFL journey as over. The regular season is long and extremely demanding. Quarterbacks get injured, backup options change, and teams are constantly making adjustments. Every year, we see players who started without a contract receive unexpected calls during the season. In many cases, all it takes is one opportunity to completely change how people view a player. Maybe that's the biggest reason why Pavia needs to keep working and stay prepared. When a chance comes, it usually comes without warning. And the biggest mistake a player can make is not being ready when the phone rings. The reputation he built as someone dedicated and committed could help him if a franchise decides to look for a quarterback to develop. For now, patience is a key. And while many people are only looking at the NFL, there's another professional path that could also provide playing time, experience, and a chance to rebuild his value in the market. It's a route that has helped many players keep their careers alive when the doors at the highest level seem to be closing.
If you're enjoying this breakdown, smash that like button to help the purple flock grow.
If another NFL opportunity takes longer to appear, Diego Pavia still has another interesting option available. The Canadian Football League, also known as the CFL, has been a stepping stone for many athletes throughout the years. It may not have the same visibility as the NFL, but it remains a competitive and respected professional league. According to the information released, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers hold Pavia's negotiation rights. In practice, that means a Canadian team has a priority to talk with the quarterback if he decides to continue his career in the CFL. For a player looking for a place to play and continue developing, this option should not be ignored. Many athletes view alternative leagues as a step backward, but I don't see it that way. In some situations, getting regular playing time is much more valuable than spending months waiting for an opportunity that may never come. Getting on the field, gaining experience, and producing results remains one of the fastest ways to get noticed again. What makes this option interesting is the timing. Without an NFL contract, Pavia has to decide which path gives him the best chance to grow over the next few months. Staying available and waiting for a call or finding opportunities to play in another league are decisions that could directly impact the next stage of his career. And looking at everything that has happened since the draft, it's clear that the choices he makes from this point forward will carry a lot of weight. I'll be honest with you, this is one of those stories that could completely change direction in a matter of weeks. Right now, Diego Pavia is without a team and facing the most difficult moment of his young professional career. But anyone who has followed the NFL for a while knows this league has a way of creating opportunities when nobody sees them coming. What stands out to me the most about this situation is that we're still talking about a player who showed talent, earned praise for the way he works, and continues searching for a chance to prove himself. So before anyone makes a final judgment about his future, I think it's worth paying close attention to what happens next in this journey. Now I want to hear from you. After everything that happened, do you believe Diego Pavia still has a future in the NFL, or could his time with the Ravens have been the beginning of the end of that dream? Leave your thoughts in the comments, because I want to know what the flock thinks about this situation.
And if you're a true Ravens fan and love keeping up with everything happening around the team, don't leave this video without sharing it with a friend who's just as passionate. They're definitely going to enjoy this. See those videos on your screen right now? I picked the first one especially for you, and the other is recommended by YouTube. Go check them out, and I'll see you in the next video.